Welcome to Oh Brother, a podcast where we try to figure it all out. With your hosts, Brandon, Collin, and Aaron. On this week's show, House Slippers. Ahoy!
Ahoy!
How's it going?
Well, it's a good question. I don't know.
Oh no! Have you been in school recently?
Today.
Just
Today only.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh well. How's it felt?
It was weird, right? It's very because like it's only partway through January, so we've only been back like a little bit, and then we were out of school. For context, listeners, today's Thursday. The first day of school I've had this week, so
welcome. Welcome back, everybody.
Yeah. A bit zany. Like last week we were just back, right? Just from like break and stuff. And then we were back a little bit and it was snowy. And then, oh surprise, it was snowy again. So yeah. It was we only had school a couple days last week. Let's see. We were, as per last episode, we had terrible training on a Monday, and then we didn't go to school Tuesday.
Uh-huh.
And then we had school Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then Thursday this week. That's my oh, it's wacky.
Oh. Aaron, were you in school at all? Like the rest of us?
Hello. No, so let's see here. Hey. You still hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, so yesterday I did not have school. But today we went back. And then I was out. We were out Monday for Martin Luther King Day, and then Tuesday, Wednesday we were out, and then went back today.
Ah, so same as me then. Nice.
And so, but I think the weather's supposed to get bad again next week. But
yeah,
rural school problems. You know, the highways were fine, but all the back roads are 90% dirt roads, so they were just trashed. And so, even our admin's like, yeah, no, the highways are fine, but every side road, side street, back road is not drivable. So we're like, fair enough, staying home.
For us here, it's been the roads have been fairly okay. It's just been the wind chill where they were like, nope, it's too cold. Like, turns out they don't want kids waiting for a bus when it's negative 23 outside. Like that. Apparently, that's a bad thing.
What? It's fine. I'm just kidding. Yeah, it's a weird. I had this realization. This has happened before, but I've never like thought about it in these terms. Right? I think Monday or maybe it's Tuesday. Monday or Tuesday. It was warmer in my freezer than it was outside.
You said that in my look. I was like, what? Like, I'm sorry. That's I'm not okay with that. I'm really not okay with that.
Yeah, I never really parsed that like together before, and it's happened before. I know, but when I thought about it in those terms, I went, oh no, that's terrible.
No, I knew it was bad when I had to do some walks with dogs, and I was like, oh man, it's freezing. That's pretty warm. I don't need to wear so many layers.
It's actually 0 degrees. I'm so hot right now.
No, it really was. And I was like, wait, did I just say that? Because like, oh no. But yeah, it was pretty funny. All of a sudden I was like, oh man, it's really warm. It's like 32 degrees outside. Yeah, this is nice.
Yeah, our problem, I don't know about, did you get a lot of like snow, Aaron, down there? Like, was there any snow, or was it just the cold temperatures that were the problem?
So we had both, and a lot of the schools, same thing with Collin, was the wind chill was just horrendous. But we got snow. Was it Monday night, or we got snow Sunday night, and then Monday it hit even harder. And then the sun came out on like Tuesday afternoon, rolling into Wednesday, and then Wednesday the sun was out, but I mean it was still just so cold.
Especially in the morning.
Our apartment has like zero insulation because it's an older establishment and it's built like on top of like a series of stuff, and so we felt almost every like fiber of like the 0 degrees when it hit.
Yeah, every
The
little
heaters
tiny
that
gust.
we have sit right underneath single pane windows, and so the heat would come up and go zoop, right outside.
Did you
I had
blanket
to
them?
put. I did. So I put blankets on all the big ones. Our offices, we couldn't go in. If you did, you could see your breath from them because they underneath them there's a walkway, and so it's a freaking wind tunnel. And like I had to put like pretty much like blankets all over Shelby's like office so she can at least just walk through. And then I had to do the same thing with her 2 windows that she has in there. My office sits right on the corner, and so I get the wind straight from the one direction, and I get the wind tunnel underneath me. So my office was freezing, and the little tiny wall heater that's in there would just be like, and right out the window. We had to go buy a little tiny like hunting heater, and because we have
I thought you were going to say a hunting blind, and so you can keep the heat in.
we have a like. You remember the big fireplace thing we got from Mimi?
Yeah.
So we have one of those, but our house is so old that like you can only plug it in for like 5 minutes before it gets like overheated.
Oh, because it's
Like
working so hard.
In the wall plug it, and so we bought this little tiny thing, and we stuck it here in the corner because we have our couch and then we have our recliner, and we just stuck it right there in between us, and it was predominantly only for like our feet to keep cool, to keep warm, and then we would stick it in the bathroom and would just like shut it in there. And so if we had to go to the bathroom or take like a shower or something, we'd get out and just heat. The only place that was manageable was our bedroom because we have like these insulated curtains. And I had our little tiny heater on one side and our little wall heater going on the other side. And I mean, just everything was blacked out. I couldn't see the sun for like 2 days because our house was just blankets everywhere. And it finally got manageable. But I mean, it got so bad, I was wearing like thermals, unders and tops, sweatpants, my hunting socks, and like a hoodie. And I felt bad for Shelby because she's doing this workout thing where she has to work out for like 30 minutes to 45 minutes like outside. And so she had to go like walk. And so she would just bundle up and just, all right, see ya. I'm like, all right, that's Luke on Hoth riding the Tauntaun away in the snow.
Yeah.
You just take off. And I'll sit here. Our cat gave zero bothers, and you could tell when he's cold because he would only ever snuggle up during the day, like at the peak cold or at night. But then other times he just kind of did his own thing. But I mean, we felt like you could stick your hand on like the interior wall, like in the living room here, and you could still feel the wall being cold.
Yeah.
Like that's how little insulation this entire house has.
Holy cow.
Yeah. And so I was glad to see if it got up to like 20 today.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had like snow, but it was really like powdery snow, right? Because the air was so cold that it was wanting to snow, but it was like so cold and dry. It was like, nah. So we had it was like real powdery, right? And then that, I guess it snowed mostly on Sunday. And then like Sunday night, it froze just solid, right? This is real fine powdery snow that packed like really good, and then it just froze, and then it didn't unfreeze.
So I had some rancher friends up where I coach at, and they lost some cattle, not because of like the cold temperatures didn't help, but they were so dehydrated.
Yeah,
because
so dry.
The wind and like they didn't get dew on the grass, And so he's like, yeah, like we break the water up, we'd water them, but like they try to graze on their own. And he's like, I had a mama calf and a or mama and a calf pass because they were just so dehydrated because they couldn't get anything to eat or to drink. And I was like, oh my gosh,
Wow.
seriously? Like, yeah, it was that bad. And I was like, oh jeepers.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we watched as the city's water mains like burst one at a time. I think we had 3 of them that burst across town, which is always, fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, where you're
No.
like, well, I hope are we gonna have water today? And I am very thankful that we did not have any pipes freeze or anything in our house, except because in our kitchen, like all of our pipes, we have no pipes that are on external walls, except
Oh no.
the line that goes to our refrigerator. This little thing that it is the little tiny plastic line goes from our basement. It snakes like way out to the, and of course, it's the northern wall of our house and goes up the wall and then out to the refrigerator. And I realized that it was not working whenever I heard the ice machine continually calling for water to fill. And I was like, oh, well, we'll just shut that off, though.
Well, out of all the ones that could break, that one's pretty inconsequential.
I was very happy for this.
That's not bad.
And I was also very thankful of the people who owned this house prior to us installed freeze-proof water spigots on the outside, where if you actually go out and look, and you go to Lowe's, you can buy these, and they sell them in different inch increments of how much you want frost-proof. And it's basically just like, how cold do you expect things to get? And these people, they bought like 14-inch ones out. So from the spigot, it goes through a hole in the wall. And then that pipe is actually extra insulated all the way back. Yes. I was like, this is good. This is good. Thank you, people. Thank you for doing this. I appreciate you. So, but they still have their covers and everything.
The barren wasteland that is Central Missouri, right? Like,
oh my gosh, I know. Just like, and of course, Megan's folks moved up here from back here from Texas, where they have enjoyed, no winter for the past many many years. So this has been quite a shock.
Well, they probably really loved this, right? Like, oh yeah. Negative 20 wind chill. Delicious. Like,
yeah, everybody enjoying themselves. Yes. Exactly. So that's not been fun. But it's been interesting to just see. And anyway, I'm seeing all the weather around. It's like, oh, it was kind of nice to see the winter wonderland. Oh, it's so nice. Yeah.
Yeah. We're kind of in the same boat as Aaron, right? Too, as far as the school goes, because yesterday, like all of the roads here in town, pretty fine, right? I went out. I realized that I probably should go open the garage door and start the car for a little bit because we hadn't driven anywhere for several days and it was freezing. So just to make sure it worked. And all the roads are pretty good, but our rural bus routes are horrible, right? They're way off down in the hollers, right? And we got dirt roads, like Aaron said, those roads don't see sun on a good day.
Right. For days or at times. Because there's still, even today, there were still roads, some school buses, parents would call, they're the bus could not get down our road. Our kids not come to school today. I'm like, you know what? You're fine. Stay home.
That's fine.
And I've even driven some of those bus routes. Not at this school, but my first school back in teaching. The moment I got my CDL, it's like, hey, here's a bus route. So I drove for a little bit, no big deal. And then straight snow, straight sleet, straight ice. They're like, well, got to get the kids home somehow. And I was 2 weeks into driving a bus. I had no idea how to manage a bus on the icy roads. But yeah, you'll go down the highway and then you get that one little kid like, you got to turn right. And it's just like a straight shot that you can see the curve of the road. And it's like, I have to ride that line because if not, that bus is going straight to a ditch. And then I got to gun it as best I can to go up a hill because if I don't, the sucker's going right back down. And hopefully there's no one on the other side because I can't see nor can I stop. Good luck, everybody. There's no. And that was how driving a bus in some of those rural areas were. No tires, no modifications, just bus. The heater might work. Stay warm, go. And yeah, I'm so glad I don't have to drive a bus anymore. I hated that so much. I felt bad for the kids because some of those kids are on for like an hour, 2 hours sometimes. Especially if you have a terrified bus driver who has no idea where they're going.
Maybe. Who knows?
Yeah.
Hypothetically.
I tried to get them as best I could, but
sure.
Thunder, those were not fun times. Especially if you had to turn around. Like, hey, is there just like a driveway? Like, no, you gotta flip the bus around on this tiny 6x6 foot road. Good luck. Like,
Aaron, you're bringing back my childhood of good old bus 15, right? Like you're describing what it was like to ride our bus, right? I don't know if you guys didn't ride the bus quite as much, I don't think.
No.
Because
but the real question
I tested it out and then it was like, no, the bus sucks. We're not riding this.
How often did you actually ride the bus though?
So I rode the bus home a lot. Right. I didn't ride the bus. I rode the bus to school some, right? But the bus got to our house at like a really weird time. So normally dad would just drop me off at school on the way to work. He would be like, okay, bye. And then I would ride the bus home quite frequently especially as a youth, right? So we did that a lot. And all these instances where these happened to me, right? So our bus got stuck several times, right? In the snow.
Yeah.
We got stuck one time, right? Here's a bus story for you. We got stuck down on this road, right? We were turning around. Old Bill was turning the bus around, and exactly what you said happened. He turned around, and he as he was backing up, the bus started sliding, and it slid off the road, right? So it's like, all those roads by Dad's house, right? So it's like one side road, other side ravine with trees, right? And that's where we sat there, right? So we sat on the bus,
nice and safe,
forever, right? Again, this is the early mid 90s, right? So heater, man, our bus was like one of the worst buses, right? Our bus route did not get the new buses, right? Because we had like the really rural route, and we had the rough kids on our bus, right? It was like graffiti all over the seats and like cuts and everything. So our bus route did not get the new buses. Our bus was one of the last ones to have a stick shift bus. Right. So ours was like a stick shift. It was horrible. Anyway, we're driving this bus. We got stuck there, and they had to call the maintenance guy. Right. So he comes out in the truck. Okay. Maintenance guy comes out in the truck. And he hooks a big old log chain onto the bus. And he's trying to kind of the bus is trying to back out, and he's trying to pull it to make sure it backs out onto the road and doesn't slide off into the ravine of death, right? So he starts pulling on this bus, and Bill starts rocking it back and forth, right? We pull out, the bus is pulling, and he pulls and he pulls, and all of a sudden that chain broke, right? This big old log chain broke off, came around, slapped right into the side of the bus, right under the windows, and we all everybody screamed, laying on the floor.
Hard
right?
path.
We had to it was terrible, right? Eventually the second one worked. We got out and we were able to get home. But it was terrible. There was another one where he got stuck You know where we met when we were walking on the last time we were up there for Christmas or whatever, and we met you and Shelby walking on the road?
Yeah.
Like right where we met you guys? The bus got stuck right there.
Ah.
Like he was pulling over for that stop and the bus just sort of slid.
Whee!
Like slid to the left and boom, got stuck there. And so I was like, Bill, I can see my house.
Yeah.
Can I walk home? He was like, no. Like, Bill.
Yeah.
Okay, let's be reasonable here. Okay, I know. He's like, I can't let you off the bus. I was like, listen, you're going to let me off the bus at the top of my super long driveway anyway.
We're
and
not
so
adding a whole lot here.
Yeah, this is only like 100 more yards of walking. I could make it. So here's how we got unstuck. Are you ready for this?
No.
First of all, Bill, like we had him and the high schoolers got off the bus and they went and they started packing snow and rocks under the back wheels. Right?
As you do.
And as Bill got back in and this is a standard bus. So he starts doing the thing where you rock the bus back and forth, right?
On the gear, right?
Yeah, on the gear, rocking it back and forth to try to pop it out. The high schoolers are still outside pushing the bus.
How we do it. Go.
How you do it? I'm pretty sure that's not allowed.
No, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, they would not allow the kids off the bus, right? Let alone touch or do anything.
They're out there rocking the bus, right? They're pushing. It was ridiculous. It was we were in I was in like 4th or 5th grade by this time. We were on the bus, like, as the bus rocks forward, we're like running forward and pushing on the thing. We're like shifting way. He's like, shift. So we finally got out of there, but it took forever. I was like, Bill, my house is right there. Just let me off. I don't want to.
Yeah, I was trying to describe to Megan a little bit about the bus out there, and she didn't quite believe me that it was exactly as I described it. I was like, no, really, there was interesting things going on that bus back then.
There was.
I don't really want to know. Be interesting to know what's happening on it now, and I say that having no desire to actually know the answer to that question.
It's probably like way less. I don't know. There's probably not people like smoking on the back, right? There's not people
teaching Furbies to curse.
Oh, I don't know. We didn't have that yet. They were like doing all kinds of weird stuff back there. I don't even know. It was strange.
Well, I know talking to Dad, I guess they have like different buses for the different schools. So like the high school will go out separately, the middle school will go out separately, and like the elementary will go out separately. But so that way there's not like the older kids mixed with like younger kids. Yeah. And so like there's multiple ones. And like a lot of schools do that to kind of help space out, a small child learning how to roll a cigarette or, interesting vocabulary.
Yeah, that's true.
So and just for safety, because I think there's issues, fights, and especially with the kids, like the rougher kids with the, non-rough kids. But no, my rural schools did not care. And especially with like driving the bus route the first time, like, hey, do we have a map? Oh no, just ask Jeremy, he'll tell where to go. I'm like, okay. And then you show up and the kid's like, I'm not named Jeremy and I'm a 5th grader. Oh no. Okay.
Oh dear, we have a problem.
But thankfully those are always like the ones that like did a pretty decent job. But I drove this. I had one kiddo the last time because I fill in occasionally, and I had a map, and I guess I missed a turn or something. I had one kid left on the bus. I'm like, hey bud, do you know where to get off? He's like, yes. I'm like, bet. Where are we going? He's like, my mom's house. I'm like, that's what's up. Where is it? Oh, we're not going to my mom's house. Why did you tell me? We're going to my Dee Dee's house. Where's your Dee Dee's house? I don't know. So I ended up going to like 5 miles like north and like 5 miles like over, and I just found the highway and I just drove until he said, that looks right. And I just found it. And then thankfully his DD or whatever was like sitting outside. And he's like, that's it, bye. like, I was on this bus for like 30 minutes longer because this kid had no idea where he lived. That was and to get to his house, no bad road conditions, but I guess I went the wrong way. But like those like old school style of bridges that are like they're stone or brick. They have like this really cool archway, and it's like kind of a like one of those bridges that like you see like a horse and carriage like drive over, and it's like really like cool looking.
Yeah.
So imagine that, but imagine that with like no sides,
Okay.
no guardrail or something.
This is worse.
And
you're describing the bridges
narrow.
across the Philly River. That's what you're.
I'm on a bus. I'm on this bus, and it's apparently the largest in the bus yard. And I have to turn. So I have to make a V turn. So imagine letter V.
Oh, you.
I have to make that turn on a bridge that has no guardrails, and the backside is just a straight ditch, and forward is a river. And so I crank that sucker hard. I throw it in reverse. I'm just inching back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I almost got a tire over the edge just trying to get the sucker around. And he was just back there just playing on his phone, not a care in the world. And I'm struggling up front. I am like the maintenance guy. He's on the bus route. He doesn't answer his phone. I'm like, this is cool. I'm trying on the radio. Radio doesn't work. I'm like trying like everything, and I'm just bam, bam, bam. I probably spend 10 minutes just trying to make this turn. Finally nail it, and then he just pokes his head up. He's like, "Where are we?" I'm like, "Is it your house somewhere close?" He's like, "Maybe." It just goes back to his phone. Like, I love children. They're amazing human beings. But finally get him home, kick him off, and I haven't had to do a bus route since. Thank goodness.
Because of all the complaints that people had of this bus dangling precariously over the ledge of
and my incredibly old bus maintenance person, who is wonderful, he's just sitting there with his hands on his hip. He's like, "Oh, easy bus route, huh?" I'm like, I have no problem fighting you right now. And he's like, "Did you make sure you take B Street over? Because there's a bridge there." I'm like, "Yeah, I found it the other way."
Yeah.
Oh, well,
that would have been good information to have before we started.
Yeah, but no, those bus routes in cold weather, especially my bus a few schools ago, the emergency brake maybe would have worked, maybe. And to stop it, you basically just had to put it in neutral and let it coast backwards until it hit this big old like concrete slab. And
nice.
that's how you parked it.
Yeah, our bus when I was 15, I don't think there was emergency brake on that bus. We definitely the big hill by Dad's house, right? When you're down on that road below it, it used to be, it's paved now. It's weird. It used to be just gravel, right? So it was real bumpy and real washy. So you got to get Bill would always get like a big run to go up that hill because it's so steep, right? Feels like it was steeper a long time. Maybe that's just me being little, but
it's
anyway.
it's because they paved it, right? And it felt a lot steeper whenever the rocks were on there because it wasn't a smooth surface. So really, you
bouncing
really
you
felt,
around.
Yes. Yeah. Especially when the washout would come in and your back end would slide around as you're trying to chatter your way up the hill.
Yeah. So I want you to imagine that happening in a bus, right? And so we're halfway up the hill, and the back end is chattering because it's so washy, and the bus pops out of gear and dies on the hill.
Yeah.
And so Bill just he was like, well, we have to back down the hill.
Ooh.
And so basically, again, putting the high schoolers to work, their job is to be the rear view mirror. They just were looking out the back window being like, yeah, you're still good. With varying degrees of trustworthiness, right? Like, is there actually a car back there? Are we gonna go off the road? And they'd be like, no, we're still good. And then because they did that before too. Every once in a while they'd be like, yeah, you still got room. smack offense, right?
Yeah, I don't know why he would. Yeah, whatever.
I mean, but we made it. We had to back all the way down, start the bus, and then back up a little bit more, get the other run at it. Like, oh man, this is why you didn't have to ride the bus, Aaron. Just so you know, this is
yeah. All of these stories hit mom and dad's ears, and they went, "No, what are we doing?" So, sorry. Thank you for your sacrifice, Brandon. We can't do this again.
Such a pioneer, literally.
It's true. Oh, yeah. It was rough. Yeah, there was a lot of weird shenanigans happening. So hopefully buses aren't quite like that anymore because children don't need that in their life.
Yeah.
So outside of the snow and building, Aaron doing like weird Bear Grylls things to stay warm. Where you been?
Yeah, apparently it's been a lot going on. No, we've been battling our furnace has been not furnacing again. Like last year it was fine, and this year it's just going. I'd really rather. It's very hard work being a furnace, especially when it's cold. So, what if I just stop for a little bit and catch my breath? Could I do that? And you're like, again, see aforementioned discussion of negative 23-degree weather, and you're like, I'd rather you kept doing your thing. Like that would be pleasant, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it?
Yeah.
No, okay, it's fine. So
that's not
we've
allowed.
been. Yeah, the worst one. We woke up one morning, and so the upstairs furnace is the one that's kind of like I'm not okay. Like I'd rather not. The downstairs furnace is like whatever you throw at me, I got this. You want it 80? I'll do 80. Let's do this. Which in a 100-year-old home is a lot of work for a furnace to do. So that's
it's true. Also, don't mention that to Megan because she does want 80. So
I know.
like
so bad, so bad. Oh my gosh. Oh no! It brought in a larger context of a bigger project that I have on my brain when we haven't even I haven't even finished the painting project that I started a year ago. But that's beside the point. Now I am on to what we need to do. Our foundation is stone around the foundation, right above ground is all stone. The basement still has some original like OG 100+ year old foundation walls. Those are all looking good. We had some people look at that and they said those are sweet. But what we need to do now, my big project that I have on my list now, when I don't have time, is to go and repoint all of the joints of all the stones in the foundation.
What? Why would you do that?
Well, because I don't know when that was done last, but it is pointed in some locations and not most of the others that exist. And when you just have two flat stones sticking together with no, mortar in between them, that's where a lot of cold air comes in. And so basically my basement is just like a sieve for cold air to come in from outside. It's just straight outside air inside my basement. And
it's a cold well, right? So cold sinks, boom, there he goes in the basement, coming upstairs, boom.
But it also makes the floors very cold.
It's some slippers.
That's very cold. Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, there are times where you'll come downstairs. Upstairs is carpeted, downstairs is all hardwood, and I'm like, oh, I'm like, geez, this is freezing. So yes, we do wear slippers and we do wear socks, but I'm like, this can't be good for my heating bill, right? The fact that my floor is this cold, like this, I need to do something about this. And that starts not with insulating the floor, no, but repointing the entire foundation.
Oh dear.
I will say this whole weather ordeal has made me really appreciate house slippers, because I got some insulated ones for Christmas last year, and I wore those. Like I'm wearing them right now. I wear those suckers
nice
all the time now because like I'd get up and I'd walk barefoot, and having no insulation on the floor, like this is awful. And I just put those suckers on. I'm like, they're like little shoes on for the inside. And my feet are warm too. What is this? This is
wizardry.
new. This is different. Yeah. Which I will say, speaking of wizardry, we did spend a good chunk of the time, our little break, watching all the Harry Potter movies. Just Shelby has not seen all of them.
Yeah.
And boy, howdy, it made me drastically remember watching all those movies with Mimi. She asked so many questions.
Did you?
And I had to do like some deep like Harry Potter lore dive in because she asked a question, I'm just like, crap, that is a good question. So I mean, I had to look up like, is Hogwarts like a private school or is it a charter school? Is it publicly funded? What is the Ministry of Magic's actual purpose? Like, what job does this character have in the ministry? I'm like, oh, these are actually like some deep questions. I was not expecting like a full on like educational dive into Hogwarts here. Like what? Then we had to look up like what classes can you take if you enroll in Hogwarts? How much does a teacher pay if you're a teacher at Hogwarts? And just like, wow, this is a weird
It's a
movie.
big one.
Yeah, but we had fun. But yes, so house slippers. Win.
Nice. Gryffindor house slippers. Bam. One of my questions is always, what do wizards get other jobs not with the Ministry of Magic? Like, what other career paths are available to you? Because it seems that everybody just works for the ministry, or they're selling joke shops and candies in Diagon Alley.
There's like the government, and then you can have like your own stuff. But I guess it's like you only cater to like music, like wizarding needs. So like you can open up like a robe shop, like a broom shop, a wand shop with Ollivanders. You get into the banking business with Gringotts. But yeah, I was sitting there looking at it, and like the teachers for Hogwarts, and this is also like, I guess this takes place in like the 90s, only like came home with like $34,000. So I'm like, oh, that's like what a teacher makes now. What the heck?
Yeah, but that's probably like 34,000 pounds. So that's like actually a lot.
That's like U.S. money because I had to convert.
Oh, okay.
Like, maybe I could teach at Hogwarts. And
already done the calculations.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, no, we got invested in it, all right?
Yeah, this is a professional thing we got going on here, Brandon. Come on, don't discount the work that happens here.
My question is, right? Here's a thought I just had.
Oh,
right?
no.
If you're magical, right? And let's say I don't know why I thought of this, but like, so like if you're taking like herbology and like stuff like that, can you get a job in the muggle world, but then like secretly use magic to make everything better? Right?
See, I don't know. No, there's no recorded instances of this. And how much J.K. Rowling will not message me back.
That's true. Oh man, you got it. Here's another one, right? Here's the thought about the divination class, right? Are those people the people that are like at the fair?
Right? Do they just walk around, right? And
are those people like setting up like fortune teller shops in like Liverpool, right? But they're actually like Hogwarts graduates with like using their divination class knowledge to do their stuff, right? Is that what's going on? Because I feel like if you're really in it to make money and you really are trying to be in the economy, you can't service just the wizarding world because that's only a very small percent of the population, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, and that you don't need to divinate for a wizard because they can do it themselves, right? Unless they're bad at it, because we saw that Ron not good at divination, right? So.
But that's fine because you have to have. I'm sure they're still out there trying to make a buck because if it's entertainment as opposed to actual like needing fortune, life and death kind of thing, you'd still make plenty of money, right? Like
that's true. I don't know. I'm saying like the economy of the wider wizarding world is elusive. I agree with Aaron.
Where do they make their money?
And what do they spend it on? What's the point? I think.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, are they buying life insurance? Do they have?
Surely not. Surely there's not like wizard life insurance because that's like, I mean, you can die in all kind of dragon, right?
Yeah.
Immolation, right? All kinds of exciting.
Yeah. I mean, the dangers at Hogwarts alone are innumerable. Like, there's so many. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like this is one of the instances where like it kind of falls apart when you really start thinking about it too much. Like,
Yeah.
Don't think about the wider world because it doesn't work. Which is weird. Like, it's just really weird, right? It's like a weird thing because you think like, what? Like again, what's the point of going to wizarding school? Like, you can learn to do wizardy things, but then why? What do you do with it? Right? Like,
right. Well, it's just a more of a big government takeover, oppressive of its citizens and more monitoring of that. So I think that's where, it's just a.
See, I feel like it's the opposite, right? I feel like if everybody's just doing their thing, it's much more like socialist, right? Where they're just like, okay, whatever. Like,
No,
I don't need money because I can just like magic stuff. Blap. Like, oh man, I need to grow some food. Zap. Like, right? Like, what?
Except
like,
they do have entire swaths of people who are meant to monitor the use of magic, right? Like it is pretty a bit heavy-handed.
Yeah, but like,
but they're trying to keep people safe, right? I know. I
think that's only so that they don't get found out. That's the only reason that those people exist, so they can remain sneaky. Right? Like, don't use your magic in the middle of Walmart so that old lady over there buying grapes doesn't notice you. That's like all it's for. It's like to remain hidden. Like the actual interior workings of the world, like what they don't do stuff. And like some of them don't even like exist in like other society, right? Like they don't participate, right? Clearly the Weasleys don't. If they have so many weird questions about rubber ducks and like what's a lawnmower for, like, bro, how do you what? Like what?
Fair point. Yeah, they're not going to the local elections or running for council or things like that.
They're not going to Lowe's and buying a hammer. They're just like magic, blam. So like what? Like what do you need money for as a wizard? Why do you need a job?
Well, I guess if you're gonna look at it that way, you might as well treat it like our modern world and the Amish. How they kind of like do their own kind of thing, but like they can still like moderately help financially but like they have it like their own like ways and customs. Just think of them like Amish.
So Aaron, are you saying that wizards are sneaky magic Amish people?
Ooh. I think of it in that context, but that does sound enticing.
Like they're like clandestinely Amish people.
Well, no, like, because, like, yeah, you can talk to them and be friendly, but, like, what do you, like, really know about them?
Yeah. Do you have a cover story? If you work at the Ministry of Magic, but you are just, like, at a London bus stop, and someone's like, yeah, so what are you doing? What do you work at? Work.
Like, I'm just, like, really traditional in my, like, foundations. Boom, Amish.
Yeah. I mean, they do wear outdated robes, right?
Fair.
They participate in traditions that are like really old.
If they drive car, yeah.
Yeah, they don't drive cars.
Yeah. Well, I mean, kind of.
I mean, okay, Weasley's car aside, that most of them don't drive cars because they can just like apparate or fly or flew or port key. There's a myriad of ways to travel not involving an night bus, apparently, right?
Oh man,
Thestrals.
Oh yeah, magic, invisible and carriage pulling animals.
Yeah.
Oh, would be terrifying on a highway, on a back highway at nighttime when you can't even see the horse. Can barely even see
towards Marshfield or whatever.
Yeah, going towards Marshfield. You can see the buggy now with its little sign on it. So imagine no horse there. It's invisible. Like that's a terrible. They may have to rethink that one. But I like this cover. Other than that,
yeah, it's weird. Like I don't know. I have so many questions there. I need to.
You're welcome.
Also, we watched over Christmas break, one of our friends had never seen him either. So we watched like the first 2 movies with them. Like we went to a friend's house and we had a small marathon. We had like snacks and lunch and everything. But not to be that guy, but I was watching it again. I was watching the Chamber of Secrets again. And they pull out the sword of, I love that movie, right? But then they pull out the sword of Gryffindor and they're like, Godric Gryffindor lived 1,000 years ago. And I'm like, bro, that's a sword from the 1750s. What are you talking about? It's a small sword. Get out of here.
Oh, hey, so side note, Brandon, you will enjoy this.
Ooh, I love side notes.
Drill. I have a baseball drill, and I teach it to where they have to use 2 hands. So it's one hand at the base of the bat and one hand a little bit choked up. Do you know what I call this drill?
No.
Zweihände.
Nice. Yes.
Yeah, so I call it Zweihände T drill, where they're basically on up on one knee, and they have the grip, so it's basically like a broadsword grip. And they're talking about it. They're like, Coach, why do you call it why do you say it in an accent? It's like, because you're supposed to. Duh. It's German for 2-handed sword. They're like, oh, really? I'm like, yeah. I just wish you guys were cool. Like, what? And so, yes, I call one of my hitting drills Zweihände. And the kids are loving it now.
Like how your kids, are they learning like medieval German? Yes, they are. Medieval German swordsmanship or baseball, right? Like,
well, what else is supposed to do in baseball? Like, I
mean, that's true.
Don't understand.
Aaron, here's the question. Are you which manual are you teaching them from? Is this Lichtenhauer? Is this Meyer? Is this Talhofer? What is your source material for this baseball?
We could become more of like a high end approach.
From like a hybridized. Oh, I like it.
No, I just wanted something a little more interesting, a little more dynamic for my hitting drills. And so one problem that a lot of kids have is that they roll over the baseball and basically put it like right in the dirt. And so what it does,
they break too early, right? Is that what that's called?
Yeah. So what it legitimately does is that it teaches them to keep their hands. So when they're making contact, one hand the palm is down, one hand the palm is up. And so when you're holding a sword, when you come across with it, that's the attack you want to do. And so it helps them keep their hands like good and where it needs to be. And so it actually does have a legit purpose, but they're like, what is this drill called? And I was like, Zweihänder, duh.
Yeah. They're actually going to be out next week practicing with long swords. That's what they're going to be.
Yeah. Aaron, it's a whole new concept, okay, right? Like it's all boring, it's laid out, but if it was just broadswords, right, or claymores, like now we're talking, people. Okay?
Yeah.
I did start reading. So we went to the library and we were looking at books and stuff, and I'm constantly trying to figure out like books that were in my wheelhouse or maybe tangential to that I can search out and find that I think the kids may be interested in, because the library is overwhelming. Even a small one like ours, like way more books than you could possibly have a concept or understanding of. And while it's kind of romanticized to walk up and grab a book off the shelf and dive into it, that's hard for people to do, and especially little kids. So I've been trying to work with Lillian and Noah to broaden out instead of going there. And while I like that they get the same books every time, I'm like, okay, instead of getting 5 of all of the same books that we got the same 5 of last time, what if we get 4 that we know and 1 new one, right? Like starting with that. So
I like it.
So this week we went and I was wandering and I started thinking of a series that I am dearly beloved in my heart, that I can't praise enough of. And I started to think of like, is it time? Like, is it too young? Like, I don't.
I know.
I don't know.
Is it the Redwall series?
It is the Redwall series.
I was trying to come up with a leading question. I was like, is there an Abbey involved?
I thought I didn't mean to get it like right on the head. I was wanting like this surprise, but I was like, there's no way Redwall.
No,
of course it is. Of course it is. We all know Collin's love of Brian Jocks, right? We all know.
Oh my god.
And of course, the reason this cued my brain is because I said, like, we were talking about swords and claymores and things like that, and who wouldn't want to see a badger wielding that, or maybe a hare, or a mice, like so anyway, I found
an otter one somewhere.
Yes, yeah, Lulian or Rulian, whatever.
I don't know. There's only like 30 of these books. I
know. Actually, there's not as many as I thought, but there's more than I remember. That's the way I'll put this. Of like, and the reason that this series is so hard to follow is his timeline is like, yes, he'll pick stories and locations from any point in the timeline, and some of them never reference the Abbey or any other character.
That's true.
That like ever. It's just like
there's only a couple.
Yes.
If I remember, because I read them later, like in my life. I read a lot of them. Well, I read all the ones that you own, specifically.
Yes.
But
yes.
But yeah, it is kind of like it's that like this is the reason I've never read any like Terry Pratchett. Right? Because there's like 7,000 books. And like there's not really an order. And like they're just there.
Yeah.
But they're all related, but like not really. Like it's a little daunting to think about.
Now I will say, when Collin first got into this book and I wanted to be like my big brother, Collin, you did a terrible job explaining what these books were.
Probably.
So I like, not that I lost interest, but I was like, all right, so they're animals and they fight. And they're like, yeah, but then you went, no pun intended, went down a rabbit hole to a what was I, like 7, 6? I had no comprehension. I was like, you know what? Just I'll probably skip this one. But I knew they were good series because I mean you would sit in the corner and just read for like hours. I'm like, well, he likes it. Yeah, that's good enough.
It is very hard to describe. I mean, really, because mostly it's like it's a lot of exposition of sitting around watching woodland creature or like talking about woodland creatures eating soups and teas.
There is a lot of cordial and like feasting happening and weird singing, and all of the poetry is in random English dialects.
Yes,
and it's cool. It's like very Mark Twainy, right? But like also, what are these moles even saying? Are these words? I don't know what's happening. There's a lot of turnip and tater and beetroot pie. I remember that.
It's beyond.
Do you guys remember that cartoon where it's like the animals and they go on like they have to go into like the world of men to get like some sort of medicine, and it's animated, and there's like a badger. You guys know
are there owls?
Are you talking about?
It's not Secrets of NIMH. No.
Okay.
I'm pretty
sure it's not Secrets of NIMH.
I'm sure it's Secrets of NIMH.
Is it the Secret of NIMH sequel?
That is also a mind trip. That one's worse. But it's this movie. It's a little cartoon.
Aaron, are you explaining Rockadoodle again? Is that what's happening right now?
Aaron.
Is that what
no, every few months I will do that.
Aaron, is this
good? I'll try to tie in Rockadoodle. But no,
it's important.
Aaron, are you talking about Once Upon a Forest?
Hold on.
Oh, he might be talking about Once Upon a Forest.
I think he's talking about Once Upon a Forest.
Collin, I'd say while he's looking, I did just look up the Redwall chronology here.
Oh,
and I didn't realize it was this wacky.
Oh, yeah. The very first, if you read, so this is a much derived and much discussion amongst people in the Redwall thing of like, many people say, and I fall into this of like, no, just read them in the order they were published, because really it doesn't matter. Like it genuinely doesn't matter. But yeah, Lord Brocktree was published in the year 2000, and that technically is the first book in chronological order, as it's talking about the Salamandstron thing and whatever, and like the foundations of that. But it was published 20 some odd years after the third book in chronological order, Mossflower. So this,
this is a trip. I didn't realize this.
Terrible. And so if you look at it this way, like, So this boils down to we were sitting there and I had all the books out on the floor. And Noah picked Rackety Tam because it has a squirrel on it, wielding a giant sword. And this
with two hands, no doubt.
With two hands, no doubt. So we dove right into this, and yes, so I am having to. If you think reading the mole language is hard, now imagine having to speak it out loud on the fly with an accent, right?
That's true.
So, man, this is real rough.
The reason I brought up Once Upon a Forest is like when Collin was trying to explain this to me, that's where my mind went when I was younger. Because I imagined those little critters like fighting and like murdering each other. And so that's why I was like, well, maybe this book's not for me. Because I like that movie.
It's also very Watership Down.
Oh,
right?
Oh, yes.
Right?
That, and
it's kind of got that vibe going on.
Oh, what's the one with the dogs? It's about like the dogs that were being tested on. Yeah.
Oh, wait, are you talking? That's a more modern one, right?
Nope, it's same kind of time period.
Really, whenever you said movie about dogs, the first movie that leaped into my brain was Balto for some reason. I don't know why, but I was like, Aaron's definitely not talking about Balto, but
no. It's I think it's by the same creator that made Watership Down, but like it's animated and it's like directed towards kids, but it definitely does not have a kid theme, because it's like these dogs that were like being tested and like, like went through like horrible stuff, and like one of the owners was like murdered, and it's like supposed to be like happy, but it's definitely not.
No. So you're talking about, so I had to look this up, and this is what I Googled. Man, Google's great. I just said movie about dogs being tested, and the first hit is called The Plague Dogs.
Yep, that's it.
Yep.
Wow.
And that's this one.
Good job, Google.
Yeah.
This looks,
weird.
It's based on a novel.
It's bad.
Okay. I thought wasn't there a Wes Anderson movie about dogs, The Island of Forgotten Dogs or something like that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But it says Wes Anderson directed it, so I definitely didn't watch it because I can't even Wes Anderson. Yes. So that's
is that what this was? What was this?
No.
Something about that? Anyway.
I don't think I've ever seen that, but I recognize that premise when Aaron said that. But yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so sorry. Yeah. So Plague Dogs is something else. Isle of Dogs is That's the
Japanese dog thing, right?
Yeah, based on a true story.
There you go. Watership Down, not based on a true story.
Not based off a true story. Redwall, also not based off of true stories.
Or is it? English history is weird. We never know.
But it's been a minute since I've gone through the Redwall series. Still, okay, so we're several chapters into this already. Absolutely still love this. Boy, howdy, did I forget how intense some of these things are. it's oh man,
well,
yeah.
It tends to oscillate wildly between like super intense and a lot of nothing happening.
Totally.
Right? A lot of like being in a wood.
Yeah.
Right? Like but then there are some like really intense right? Or there's like really dangerous rats, like intense action. There's crows that are going to pick your face out. You're rafting down a river.
Yeah.
For like 9 chapters.
Yeah.
There's like
eating some dandelion root tea and
Secret of Nim vibes.
Some oatmeal. And you're like, yeah, and then it cuts to like the one Rackety Tam, like one of the guys was fleeing from his brother because he murdered his dad and is after the walking stone, and he was in a forest and a tree fell on his back and broke it, and you're like, okay, this is
I remember that one.
Anyway, like there's a lot going on right now.
Yeah, it's a weird vibe. It's like one part Watership Down, like a little splash of Secret of Nim, because there are some parts that you're like, what? And it's like creepy. There's some like Robin Hood vibes going on, the animated one, right? But also like a little Highlander. It's weird. Like it's real weird.
Yeah. And but I love, again, just like
Arthurian legend stuff, like
yes, like, but it's and it's like it kind of alludes to some, like, it's not a magical realm either, right? It's very practical, right? There's some mystical things sometimes, but not really, like, stirring cauldrons and making potions and weight stuff, but like, which I think is what I was really attracted to it by, of like, man, this is a very like tangible world. And every book kind of like is a standalone thing. It mentions things, but like even in this one, it's just like it just dives in and it's like, oh yeah, Father Abbot, thank you for visiting, Salamanstron. They were so happy. They were sad that your bells weren't ringing the last time that you were repairing your bells several years ago. So they're making you a giant drum. And it's like, oh my gosh, like this is
just like Martin the Warrior shows up sometime when like the ghost of Martin the Warrior speaks to you, and his sword is always hidden in a new exciting location. They have to like they like national treasure their way through all these weird clues to like find the sword to defeat the bad guy. That's the other trope that happens.
Right.
Wow.
Right. Well, because they're like, oh, after the last time it caused havoc, we decided to hide it for good this time.
They always like really need it, but they've always hidden it somewhere. They can't remember where it's at.
Hundreds of years ago, right?
Yeah.
You're like, oh my gosh.
The abbot hid it in this new location.
Yeah.
Where it's always like they would be able to find it in the time of need. And then everyone forgot where they put it.
Yeah. But conveniently, here's a riddle.
Yeah. They didn't want to write it down directly. All of this series of clues expertly laid out like an escape room throughout the act.
And that was the other thing of like, okay, so in this one, yeah, the guy who's running away from his brother who's now trying to murder him and whatever, it's like, oh, I hid the walking stone, he'll never find it. And they're like, well, where did you hide it? And he's like, I'm not going to tell you, but here's this riddle.
Here's a map that I found.
No, it's like 7 sentences of rhyme, and you're like, oh my gosh, he had his back broken and he's on a tree. And like, why are you giving him a riddle in the forest?
It's like, it's under the floorboards of the cabin, bro.
Yeah. You would think that's what he would say, but no, he's like, no, I'm not ever telling anybody. Okay, but twist my arm or my back since it's broken. Here's the riddle, boy. Have fun. It's like, okay, well, anyway.
Now the other question for Aaron, since he never read these, the other question that I always had when I read these, because I did read them later in life, so I had this question. It's never like part of the mysticism that the book contains, right? It's never really understood or stated that like, are there also people here? Is this a world only inhabited by animals? Especially in some of the early stuff, because they talk about like the Abbey and how it's like enormous and giant and stuff. You're like, is it like a people-size Abbey?
Yeah.
Or is it like a rodent-size Abbey?
That's just big.
It's not like really clear. It's like very vague. So you're like,
all sorts of animals can fit into this, right?
Yeah,
like there's never
it's like every. Well, so it can't be too small because there's like otters and mice and shrews
badgers
and hedgehogs, and you're like, all those animals can't fit in a building made for a mouse. So what's happening?
Yeah,
it's just it's just a bit vague. I don't know if it's like a cathedral built on the scale of like we would think about a cathedral, where it's like it's big for me too, right? Like I can easily walk into Notre Dame and not be like, oh, I feel so constricted here, right? It's so small. Like,
yeah.
So the scale is confusing. Sometimes they talk about like they're riding on a wagon, and you're like, how big is this wagon?
Yeah.
But one of them, it's
wagon?
like, he sort of pulls away from it later. But like, I think in some of the early ones, there's definitely like a horse pulling a wagon. You're like, why would a rat be riding on a horse pulling a wagon if there's no people to build a wagon that big?
Or
I'm confused.
Are they people-sized animals?
Oh no, this is just creepy. It's just
they're just like animals. There's like rabbits and stuff.
Or was there nuclear fallout that made them grow to abnormally
now?
large
Here's the
size?
question: like, is this like post-apocalyptic time where all humans are dead and all that's left is the animals?
Is this Princess and the Bride vibes where there's rats unusual large size? Like, is that what we're talking about here?
No, not quite that big. No, it's like normal rats. Like maybe slightly larger, very angry. That Clooney guy's an angry guy. The angry fella.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's real strange. But other than that, that's the only quibble that I had every once in a while. I'd be like, because they'd be like, there's a bridge. You're like, what kind of bridge? Like, what does he mean by that? I don't know. Who built this bridge if it's like otters and badgers are using the same bridge?
Yeah.
Like,
well,
there's a mouse.
And because happening? Like they talk about going down rivers, and I'm like, well, rivers, like that's a big term. And like, am I supposed to believe this adventure is taking this little dormouse is going on an adventure down the Mississippi River?
But these are like English rivers.
Oh, right.
He's very English.
Like brooks and streams.
Yeah, he's from Liverpool. Right. So like the river in England is like, 6 feet across. Like that's what
fair.
So like there's no like Missouri River equivalent, Mississippi River happening in England, right? The Thames is pretty big. The Thames
can be pretty big, but like,
it's not. It's not Mississippi.
It's a babbling brook.
Yeah.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
Yeah.
It's just it does call into
the canoe shrews, right? That's funny.
Yes.
I like the canoe. Yes. The log guy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's fun. So this is an adventure that we have thrown ourselves into and are working our way through. And that has
there's only 22 books. I was slightly overestimating with 30. So
yes,
if they stick, you got a ways to go. So
well, and that's the other thing of I'm trying to of just the way my brain works of like
pace.
I'm trying to pace, but also I like getting into series because then it's like it's an easier for them to dip their toe into the next one and then the next one and the next one. They can kind of get familiar with the pattern and they're not quite so daunting by again, that brand new book that slams on your table where you're like, well, I don't know anything about this author. I don't know what to expect of it. That's exciting for some people. I know for me, it can be very overwhelming. So having a series with 22 books where it's like, great, stories I enjoy in a way that it makes sense to me. And here we go.
All right. So whenever you start Noah on the Warhammer series, start 30K at the beginning with the unification of Terra. And then don't start with the Great Crusades. Don't do that. Or Horse Heresy. That's a bad idea. Start in 30K and build from there. All right.
Okay. Cool.
Aaron, is this your audition for Henry Cavill's web series?
I'm just saying. I still need to finish the second. I need to finish the second season of The Witcher. But that is it. I started with the Horse Heresy, and I regretted / haven't regretted it since because I had to look up so much crap on. All right, who is this person? Why are they talking about them? When did this happen? Is this before? Is this after? What is this? So I don't.
That's true.
Yeah,
series do have that drawback when you accidentally start with the wrong one, right? But when you were younger, Aaron, did you have any book series that you were into? Because I know Collin read, like, obviously Harry Potter and the 900 Redwall books. Did you have any that you were like, oh, I like this?
So I remember when we first went to go see the first Harry Potter movie, Collin made me read the first books because he didn't want to explain anything to me during the movie. So so I had to read, and I fell in love with that series. Ooh, golly. Wow. Did I have? I mean, whenever we used to go to South Dakota, Collin would read to me the it was the Boxcar Kids. There was another series that you would bring. What was the one with the kids would not Magic Treehouse, but the other ones like it was like 3 kids and they would time travel.
Time Warp Trio.
The Time Warp Trio.
Yeah, I'd Colin would read that. I can't think. I mean, if I go home, there's back to Missouri. There's probably like some of my bookshelf, but I never got into like Artemis Fowl.
Mm.
And I remember I got a few of those books for Christmas. I never touched them, and I feel bad because I just could not get into them. Like I'd read the first page, like yeah, I'm done. Um, a lot of my friends got into like I think it was a time period where like Percy Jackson was popular. I couldn't get into that. Um, I Oh man, wow. I don't think honestly there was like a series that I'm like, this is the one until like I was much older when I read like Game of Thrones. A Magic Treehouse, I guess would be the only one that like I
Mm.
read like continuously that I would either read in order, not in order, you name it. But I think that was like really the one series that I truly read. But even then, like I don't think I have like a book like series that like I was like, this is it, this is mine.
Mm.
Again, until I was older and it was like Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I remember you reading the Magic Treehouse books a lot.
Yeah,
mostly because you only ever called them the Jack and Annie book. And so I still call them that, right? When kids read them at school, my first thought is always like, oh, the Jack and Annie book, right? I think about you every time I see a kid having one of those.
Like that's what they were called.
Yeah.
When I was in like even like it's not that I didn't like reading. I really liked reading. I loved going out there in the hammock and reading. But man, if you have to put freaking The Great Gatsby in my hands, we're gonna have a problem. Because to me, that is the most weirdest, boring book ever. Like that, we never had to read The Grapes of Wrath, thankfully. What was the other one? Of Mice and Men, that was another one. Like again, if you force me to read these books, we're she'll just yell the litany from across the room like that. Like we're gonna have problems because and then don't put the new Great Gatsby in front of me. Like this means nothing. But I mean, what other books did I have to read? Some of these kids now, when they bring books to my class, I'm like, what are you reading? I nerd. But I mean, I love sitting down and like but like the Killers of the Flower Moon, although it's not a series, I love reading that book. I'm reading it like for the third time. But I mean, I blitzed through Game of Thrones. I blitzed through Harry Potter. I never read Lord of the Rings, weirdly. Um, but like that, like those kind of thing. But like, yeah, just anything like those. I guess I read some of the Star Wars books. Because you read them, Brandon.
Yeah, I read some. Yeah,
and so I read some of them, and then I got bored because I didn't know what the expanded Star Wars universe was yet, and the interwebs wasn't fully accessible, so you couldn't Google who half the people were.
That's true. No internet.
But again, but yeah, like even when I'm older, it's like, I mean, I'll sit there and I'll read any of my Warhammer books. I started reading The Witcher again, like starting from like book 1 and moving on.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I was a kid, I don't think I read like true series. We went to Barnes and Noble. When Didi took us to Barnes and Noble, I always went straight to the history section, and I read anything I could about World War II, the American West, and I think like the Civil War. That was my click. That was my niche that I wanted.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you're more of just like a individual book type of guy. Right?
Yeah, like, but like I can read like stuff now, but
oh yeah, I mean
but back in the day, I was like, I'm gonna read, like come back in within like 30 minutes, and I'll find a Civil War book to find. Don't worry.
Did I tell you the other book that I found we have several free little libraries around town, and I came across one. We give out books as the kids age out of things, or it's like, okay, we need to bring something new to the rotation. We'll go drop some off and we may see what's there and pick some up. I found Shel Silverstein, Where the Sidewalk Ends.
Oh wow.
And I don't like, it was like, I remember that being in mom and dad's bedroom and like just like finding it every now and then. And I was like, oh right, like I want to have those kind of books where like the kids just find them and like fall in love with them. I just need these to exist in the house. And so I got it and I put it on the shelf. And of course, immediately Lillian was like, "What's that? What's this book from?" I was like, I don't know. It's just you might read it, you might like it. I don't know. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, good luck trying to pull one over on her. That's not really gonna happen. Like she's looking.
No, she would not want that. So anyway, so she found that book and immediately fell in love with it and was like running, like for the next several days would come running in and be like, Dad, listen. And she, she'd read one of the poems and stuff. And I was like, yes, it's working.
The plan is coming together.
So Brandon, the series I know from you really, Boxcar Children. I know that's the one that, like, when I think series, I think Boxcar Children for you. So like, what, any other series that you ran through growing up?
I was trying to think after I mostly gave Aaron that question to give me some lead time here. I did read the Boxcar series a lot. I remember very specifically, I was reading those in second grade, right? That's just what I was reading. I don't know why exactly. I guess maybe it was just because there's a bunch of them and I got one from the library and then like they were like relatively cheap in like the Scholastic book thingy, right?
Yeah.
The book order, book fair stuff, right? They were around. So I got those. I read a lot of those. They're kind of like mystery light, I liked a lot of those. And then I was thinking about like my later elementary school career. Like I don't really have any sort of inclination about what on earth I was reading in like fourth and fifth grade, other than the books that we read in school. Right?
Yeah.
I remember being in the library and I remember checking out books. But I don't really think there was anything just like super that I did. Oh, wait, a memory. I was reading a lot of like sports books, maybe in fourth and fifth grade. Maybe that's when I was reading those.
Yeah.
Those, I saw a kid with one the other day and that's what it was. Random sports books, right? I read a lot of those. I'm going to do some quick Googling here and think if I can find anybody, but I read that stuff. And then I read kind of in middle school is when I started reading a lot of like the Star Wars expanded universe stuff and like other things like that. The Mike Lupica guy. I read just like a bunch of random those things. He writes just like a bunch of books for like middle grade people. I read a ton of those. I think I just saw his name. That looks familiar. I started reading like Star Wars expanded universe, and I started reading like those Dragonlance books. Right, they're kind of like set in a Dungeons and Dragons style universe, right? Where they're like, it's like it's not necessarily a series, but it's like there's like a lot of different authors, but they're all writing books that take place in the same universe, kind of like the Star Wars expanded universe thing.
Oh, sure.
Right? But it's like for like high fantasy stuff. So I read I read a lot of that stuff, right? In like middle school. That's what I was reading mostly. Like high fantasy, Dragonlance, like Margaret Rice and Tracy Hickman, that kind of stuff. I was reading a lot of that. There's several books that they wrote that are in a series. I read something that was all together and then just like piecemeal random stuff because it's like a huge expanding universe. It has like thousands of years of history, and it's like
Right.
there's books set in like tons of different time periods, and they're just kind of like all around, and I would just read those. I think that's what I read a lot of. Right.
Yeah, and I
now,
think. Oh, go ahead.
sorry. No, it's fine.
I was gonna say, the reason I like those kind of series because like there's no right or wrong way to jump into it. It's not like when you sit down, you're like, you know what I really need to do today? I need to get involved with like, I don't know, like One Piece. Like I need to figure out what One Piece is. And it's like, well, there's 1,500 episodes here, and you kind of need to know the backstory, and like it's kind of all important. So just start here and work your way through. And same thing with books too. When they do have that long chronological order is suddenly very, very important. It's like, well, I just want to enjoy the book and enjoy the world. So it makes it harder, more intimidating for me.
Like this Wheel of Time phenomenon, right? Like 7,000 books, and there's a whole lot, and I don't want to read all of them because I hear a lot of them are boring.
Yeah. You're like, oh no, by the time you get to the third book and page, chapter 5, it really, really kicks up a notch there. And you're like, nothing.
Yeah. So now, like, I don't know if I read like a lot of series now. I was reading obviously Game of Thrones, and I'm working my way through everything Tolkien's ever written. But like there's a couple other things. I'm staring at my bookshelf right now, face on, and I have the last one of the last things that I enjoyed reading is I read a bunch of books by Katrin Ingberg. Right, they're kind of like mystery-y books, right? Like stuff like that. Those are really good. Like Danish police officers, mysterious stuff. And then I don't know where the second book is. Oh, there it is. I also there's like a couple other ones where I've read the first couple and I haven't like gone back to them yet. Right? It's just because like I go in these moods where I read a lot, I don't read a lot, then I read a lot again, and then I don't read anything. Very moody about this. This could be an attention span disorder situation, but right, it's usually stuff like that, right? There's a couple ones that I've read that I like, but that's the last one I read really. And then I realized the other one that I need to read more of, the series that is now a series and wasn't a series when I read it. Right? So I read a long time ago. I read my boy Ken Follett, right? Dude writes incredible books. But I read the Pillars of the Earth book a long time ago about like medieval England church cathedral building craziness, right? So I read that book. And then he wrote that book in like the 80s or something. And then he wrote a sequel called The World Without End. Well, I read that one. I was like, oh, that's good. And then I kind of didn't think about it for a long time. Apparently he's written like 4 more books. Oh. And so I have some catching up to do.
Oh no.
And those books are cool because like it's a book about like Kingsbury Priory or whatever, and the church and the cathedral and the town. But like the first 2 stories are separated by like hundreds of years, right? So like the first book is like what was going on in the town, and like I don't even remember what year. It's like 1100 or something, like when it's being built. And then the next one is like 300 years later, right? So it's like how has the changed, but like the building and stuff is still there, right? It's like that, like the priory and stuff is the character sort of kind of also. So like you were seeing the world changing around this stationary location with like new characters and stuff, and like they only vaguely reference some of the old people in the second one. So there's apparently though like a bunch more. So I might need to do some collecting here and figure out what I've missed, because I read that book like a long time ago, like over 10 years ago. And apparently he's picked up the pace and written like 3 or 4 other books, because we were also in the library today because Susan was writing or she had to renew her library card, right? And so we walk in there, and I'm looking at the books, like the new featured books they put in the front, you know. Yeah. And I was like, Ken Follett, what? Uh-oh. There's another. Oh dear. I'm real behind now. So I'm gonna have to do some research today and see just how many other ones there are. And I need to get on this stick here because I really liked those other ones. So I may actually reread them. Thought about that. And then kind of pick up and go there and kind of see where we're at here. So I might do that. That might be a series that I kind of get back into, this Pillars of the Earth series-y thing. Because I really like those first ones. Because I really like Ken Follett's writing. It's really good. But I might need to get back into that because it like I said, it's interesting. It's weird because it wasn't a series and now it kind of is. And so I'm like, I'm missing out.
Well, and it's interesting when you have authors like that who write and then they write over such an extended period of time. You know, I was trying to think of, well, you were talking of going, what's been a series that I dove into like within the last 5 or so years. And when I was getting my PhD, one of the other guys there turned me on to the Dresden Files by Jim Butcher. He like gave me the first book. I was like, I think you'd like this. And then I proceeded to read the other 15 of the series over the span of just like a few months. And
oh, wow.
Yes. And he originally published it in 2000 and I caught up all the way through 2015. And then and I was like, oh, well, I guess that's it. And I've like checked periodically. Well, I haven't checked in the last 4 years because it turns out he's published 2 other books since 2015. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I need to go. Yeah, oh no. But yeah,
get on the stick.
Yeah, when you have those, we have those authors that are like, again, he's publishing over the 2 decades worth of books now. It's like that's a lot to stay on top of, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. And I do know that I have a lot of books on my shelf here where I've read I have 1 or 2 books that are, I guess, a series, and I just haven't. I know that this book has got more, and I do. The other one that I keep meaning to get more of. He's like a Polish guy. His name is Oliver Postich? ? And apology for pronunciation, but it's the first book's called The Hangman's Daughter, right? So it's after the 30 Years War, Germany. That's where we are. Kind of somewhere in there, and it's really cool. The setting is really cool, and it's kind of dealing with all this stuff and kind of the balance between modernization of Europe and old tradition and folklore things. And it's really I've only read the first 2, and there's more, and I really like them, but I just it's one of those series I want to go back to that. I just haven't yet. So that's another book that's really good. Right. I like that one. That's a series. But again, I've only read 2 of them. So I'm kind of bad about keeping up with series is what it turns out has happened here. I don't.
Yeah. Well, it's so hard to have touch points, and that stuff. And because we're, I think, out of the habit of walking into bookstores every week, it's you don't see the new book release or whatever.
Yeah. So I have a couple that I need to continue. I got to do some Ken Follett research here, and then probably need to look up Oliver, see.
Oh,
so yeah, that's all I'm going through now. So boom, there you go.
All right. Well, I feel like we have quite a few. Any more other reading recommendations? I guess.
Here not this week. Tune in next time for book rambling with brother.
Book rambling with your brother. I don't know. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Hopefully, you guys have interesting weeks up ahead or not.
We'll see. See what's in store for the weather. That's really what's the ruling feature here in January.
Well, I do. Okay. Well, before we leave here, I do have a haiku. And this one was actually it's one of the rare instances where a topic discussed on the podcast has a haiku already for it. So
what?
Yes. So sorry.
This isn't plagiarizing, is it?
No.
Okay.
No. Oh no. As in. We are discussing. We discussed a topic that like usually a haiku is like a look back to the previous week.
Okay.
This haiku is written about a topic. I wrote a haiku about the Redwall series. So
nice.
Okay.
There we go. About this very episode.
Yes. Okay.
So you're telling me I can't write a haiku about the Redwall series too? That's what.
No, you can, and we can just. Or I personally think you should write, or maybe Aaron should write a haiku about sneaky magic Amish. Or not, if you don't want to get it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, they're not going to hear it. So
you choose. Okay. Anyway, so here's my haiku about Redwall. In the stars, a quest through time's weave, heroes contest, fates and dreams coalesce.
Oh, very nice.
Snap the fingers on that one.
Oh,
thank you. Thank you.
You hear that?
Okay.
There you go. Get this.
Oh man. Anyway,
I like it.
Okay, so we'll see how that works. But okay.
Alrighty.
Well, I hope you all can thaw out just a little bit before the next deep freeze.
True.
And you can enjoy some time.
Alrighty.
Okay. Yeah. Enjoy a good book. Moral of the story. Enjoy a good book. There you go.
All right, I like it.
Look at us helping people.
Yeah.
Okay. Love you guys.
Love you too.
Love you too.
Bye.